everybody, welcome along to Watercolour Wednesday. And we're doing this wonderful sunset scene today. Let's see if I can see the comments this time. See if Facebook have fixed the gremlins. Welcome along. What a lovely sunny day. A little bit chilly, but at least the sun's shining when it is here in Northamptonshire. Say hello if you're on. Let me see if the comments are working. If I can see everything. Hey, Diane, hello. It's working. Oh my word. I'm so excited. I still have to get up and down to move the comments down a couple of times until it starts tracking. But hey, we're on the way. So we're doing this lovely sunset today. Beautiful orange glow in the sky. Some reeds in the breeze. Sorry. Would love to join. Always working on Wednesdays. Oh, what a shame. Hello from Edinburgh. Hi Anne. Hi Ruth. Hi Karen. Yvette from Trinidad. Wow. Oh, I bet the sun's shining in Trinidad. Fabulous. Wonderful place to be watching from. Okay. So this is clearly one I did earlier. Let me move that out of the way. Somewhere safe so I don't splash it. Okay. Let me tell you what we're working with today. Hi Deb. Hi Sarah, Joy, and everybody. Thank you, Joy. So, I have my cold pressed watercolour paper, which has a textured grain to it, a fine grain. Now, anyone interested in what sun is shining? Oh, Yvette, I'm so jealous. Okay. We're so needing a holiday here. Well, everyone, I'm sure, but you're in a beautiful part of the world. Cloudy in Cornwall, Joanne. Oh dear. Hi Jean, good to have you along again. So I've got my cold pressed watercolour paper. I've stretched it. I'm going to put up a video on YouTube for stretching your watercolour paper, okay, because I get lots of questions about it. But very quickly, I soak my watercolour paper in a tray. When I'm doing something like this, where I'm going to use a lot of water, I soak it for 10 minutes in a bowl. And then I use gummed tape, this brown tape, to tape it to the board and leave it overnight. Just leave it alone. Then you can see I've got some masking tape. That's just to give me a nice white edge, because the trouble with gum paper is you can't get it off, you have to cut it. Okay, so the masking tape gives me my crisp white edge around the edge when I pop it in its mount. Brushes today, I'm using my usual size 12. I've also got a dagger brush or a sword brush that I want to show you today. Now this is a new range that I've got in. I got them in last week, so you get a set of 3. And they're really good for using on things like grasses, which is why I chose this scene today. Aha! Method in my madness. Caroline, hi from Jack, Timothy and Noah and Joseph and Julietta in Bedworth. You're not so far away. Okay, so I'm going to be using a sword or dagger brush as well today to show you what you can do with that. Or you could use a rigger or fine liner for the reeds. Something that's going to give you a nice wispy grass. Okay, and the colours will be self-explanatory as we go along. No drawing required. We're just going to work on now. You have an option for your horizon line. If you're not good at straight lines, not many of us are good at straight lines, you can put a bit of masking tape across where your horizon's going to be, okay? Just a little bit of masking tape. This is a low tack tape, which I sell on my website as well. If yours is a normal masking tape, just stick it on your clothes or on the tabletop first to get rid of some of the stickiness. Now I'm not sure I've put that on straight. Let me just check. So I'm saying use masking tape for a straight horizon and we end up with a wonky one. I don't know, my eyes are playing tricks with me today, guys. I think that will do. That's about straight. Okay, so let's get started, shall we? I'm going to get my big watercolour brush, big, lovely, fluffy, soft brush. Now, oh, actually, let me show you this. There's a couple of these that I sell on my website. Again, this is a new one, a major brush, and it's synthetic, but it acts like a squirrel. Okay, I'll use that. Because all I want to do is pick up some clean water and go across my sky. So a nice big brush gets that coated very quickly. Just backwards and forwards a couple of times. You don't want big puddles now, guys, on your paper. Just a nice glow. And now we're going to go in and mix up some colours. In fact, I want my horizon line a bit lower. Change my mind. Let's get a new bit of tape. I don't think that will stick now. I'm going to take it a little bit lower down. There we go. Touch more water. Now if you haven't stretched your paper first, you can get buckling, okay, where the paper gets the water and it curls up, basically. So I'm just re-wetting that sky. Okay, let's go in with some colours then. We want a nice sun setting in our sky, so I'm going straight for my lemon yellow. I'm just going to pop some there. I'm going to use it fairly strong today, a bit of water in, and I'm going to have a tree line, but let's forget the tree line for now. I'm just going to take my yellow into this sky. This side is where I'm going to have most saturation of yellow, and a few wispy bits coming out into the water that I've put down. Now be careful with skies when you're using yellow. Hello Demi, you're welcome my lovely. Don't put blue down on its own or you'll have a green sky. We don't want a green sky, so I'm going to get my mixing palette here. These are my watercolour paints that I make by hand, and I've squeezed some out because I have some in the tubes waiting to go into the pans. Hello Jean Perkins from London. So I'm going to take my pinky red, my bluey red, so it'll be a crimson, or in this case it's carmine, and I'm going to mix that with some ultramarine blue. Pop that in. So I want to make a purple. That's going to be quite strong, quite dark, so I'm just going to add a bit more water to lighten it, and a touch more red. Oops, too much. Touch more blue to balance it. So I want a kind of reddy purple. That's what I'm looking for. So just going in with my blue until I get that where I want it. Sort of a heathery, there we go. Now whilst I've been doing that, my paper's dried a little, so I'm using a nice wet brush, coming in from the edges towards that yellow. Okay. I'm going to add a bit more water to my brush. I'm going to add the water over the yellow to reactivate. Now purple and yellow mix nicely together. Okay, you get a kind of a grey look. If you take purple and put yellows into it, you will end up with a grey. So I have this pinky sunset sky just coming in the corners to begin with. I'm going to add a touch more blue. So this is crimson or carmine and ultramarine blue. Okay, I'm taking it a little bit more blue this time. There you go, you can see. Coming down, wet into wet, just pulling across the page, across the sky. Come down to the masking tape. Sweeping that brush to and fro like you're conducting an orchestra. Okay, get a bit of tissue, and if you've got a coin handy, stick a coin in your tissue. Wrap it up into a bunch. Okay, oops, I've ripped my tissue. Try again, put the coin in your tissue, wrap it up. I'm going to go into my yellow to create the sun. Push down. And your paper is going to be soaking up that yellow. Lift off, and we've got the yellows on the tissue, And we've got our sun. Hi Patricia from Ohio. Good to have you. Can you see the glow of the sun there? Simple. You don't need a coin, you could just use your tissue, but a coin will give you a nice crisp shape. Okay, I want a little bit more colour going on in my sky. I'm going to take some vermilion, which is this more orangey red. Water it down a little. I'm going to bring some of this into my sky. So it's a different red to the one I made the purple with. This has got some yellow in it. I'm just using the tip of my brush, teasing it across the sky. Pull in some marks, very loose. Hold that brush nice and loose in your hand. And I'm going to bring a little bit of this vermilion or cadmium red. Okay, very similar. I'm going to bring some of this vermilion in the sky. Now my paper's drying, but it's still damp enough for these colours to bleed and play around together on the surface, which is what I want to happen. I'm going to take a little bit more vermilion and come into the yellow area. Just tease it, move it behind that sun into the yellow, wet onto wet. You can see my colours aren't too strong. There we go, just teasing that in around our sun, leaving some yellow. Now I've gone into my sun a little bit too much and made a shape, so I'm just going to lift that out with my coin. Hi Sue. There we go, lifted it out again to make my sun nice and round. Now if you wanted to, you could, I've lost my brush now guys, what's going on? You could take a little wispy cloud if you want to across the sun, so you could come into your oranges and yellows and just drag a little, maybe a little bit more colour, bring an orange cloud and bring it in front of the sun. It's an option, okay, just to give you that subtle floating past. Beautiful. Okay, we're going to carry on. I'm going to take my tape off. Whee, there we go, my straight line. How wonderful. Okay, now I'm waiting for this to dry a little bit. I'm going to have a look at my paper to see how shiny it is on that line, particularly where it's going to join the water. It looks dry enough to me. If it's not, blast it with your hairdryer, okay? Just give it a blast with the hairdryer. So I'm going to take my big brush again, both my water pots are dirty, and I'm going to come down to the water. Clean water, backwards and forwards, all the way down to the bottom. Okay, I'm going to do it twice. Do it once and then go again. Fabulous. Again, no puddles, just nice and shiny. I'm going to go back to my number 12 round brush and my colours that I mixed up earlier. So we mixed up this purple for the sky. I'm going to mix up a bit more, and I'm going to need a bit more blue, ultramarine blue, and your crimson red or your carmine red, okay, to get a dark purple. Fabulous. I'm going to pop some of that into the middle here. I've got a bit of blue that's dried up from earlier. I'll just add something. I want a watered down version of that colour. Okay, we're going back first with the yellow. We want to show in the water the colours that are in the sky. So I'm going to take my lemon yellow and I'm going to come wet into wet. Use your brush left to right, swinging from your shoulder if you can, to keep a nice horizontal mark coming through the water. So we're just replicating what's going on in the sky. A bit more yellow. This is lemon yellow, the same as I used in the sky. And now I'm going to drop in, pick up some of that vermilion. Again, the same colours we use in the sky to make the orange. Using the brush on its tip, just swinging backwards and forwards, feeding, and it's going to bleed because we're wet into wet. Some of these orange colours into the yellow. Take it a bit stronger across the back, coming in from the side. Here we go, coming across from the side, backwards and forwards, keeping your marks horizontal. Bear with me 1 second, guys. Hello. Oh, you found us. Like a new friend. There should be 4 boxes, yeah?
No, today one, maybe another grab or some more.
Okay, thank you. Sorry guys, I just had a delivery arrive. Typical, isn't it? So I'm taking my vermilion red, coming in from the side, I'm not using the whole of the brush, I'm using just the tip, left to right, creating strands of this orange, feeding through into the yellow. Okay, I want it a bit stronger. I'm going to go again with another layer. Each time we come across, the colour we put on previously is sinking in. So I'm going back to add more intense oranges into my water. I've kind of got this in the wrong place. Should be over here more. I'm going to add a touch more yellow over this side and try and sort my problem out. This is the trouble when I'm teaching live. I'm just going to soak up some of that colour. Whoops! Soak it up with my damp brush and lift out my error. There we go. And go again. Put some yellow this side. I wasn't paying attention. I'm too busy looking at your comments. That's my excuse. Okay, coming forward now. My paper's dried off a little bit, so I'm going to use my big brush and just re-wet it down the front. Okay, because I want lots of movement going on. And I'm going to take my purple colour with my crimson or carmine. Again, picking up the colours in the sky, coming forward with our horizontal marks, swinging left to right, backwards and forwards. I'm going to work back and bring some of this purple into the water further back. Backwards and forwards, just swing. You can leave some white marks between your marks as well. Oops. Just don't have it too strong yet, okay? I've just mixed up a little bit more, coming right down to the bottom where we are as the viewer. This gives us very subtle. I'm going to add a little bit more ultramarine blue to my purple. And if you want it to go grey, add a little bit of your yellow in. A little bit of yellow, but you need red for that to happen. So it needs to go into a purple. I'm going to bring this grey, kind of a Payne's grey. Just putting it here and there, brushing through left to right, side to side. Giving the effect of ripples on the water. Okay, our horizon line needs to go in now. Now if you want, you could retape. Okay, but I'm going to take it nice and dark, so I want a creamier, richer paint. Okay, much thicker, more like cream. So I'm just going to go blue and my crimson again. And I want to turn this a little bit grey, so I'm going to pick up some lemon yellow, pop it in, grey it down a bit, touch more blue. Nice dark colour for our horizon line, okay? So we're going to come along that horizon line, in the water side, bringing this dark purple through, and the other side, tip of the brush pointing towards that horizon. There we go. A little bit more red into my purple, and I'm going to start coming forwards, coming into that line. I've added a touch more red in, and again I'm coming backwards and forwards. I'm going to leave some little gaps between my marks as it comes closer to me, leaving wider gaps as we come forwards. Okay, so really dark at the back, and pulling your colour through, getting lighter, come through, pull from the side, keep your lines vertical, and the same the other side. In I go, into that dark colour along the horizon, spread it a little further, and then left to right, swinging that brush. I'm going to add now some vermilion. Because we added vermilion to the sky, I'm going to add some more vermilion to the water here. Left and right, bouncing that brush, keep it loose. Spreading it into the yellow, just pulling that colour that's already down across the page. Okay, don't panic if these colours look strong. Remember, watercolours dry back lighter than when you put them on. Okay, I want a little bit more action on the left, so I'm going back to my purple. The paper's starting to dry, and every time I add these ripples on the water, they will sit longer on the surface rather than bleeding all the way in. Okay, so it really does matter how wet your paper is as to the effects you're going to get. Pull that a little bit further across. There we go. And leaving this sunshine area coming across the middle. Fabulous. Okay, because I touched up my sky there, can you see I've got a little bleed going on up into the horizon? That's okay, because we're going to put some blurred out trees in next. How are we doing? Is everyone keeping up? I'll slow down. I'll tell you what, I'll have a sip of my tea, give you a chance. Look at that surface. Look where, as the paper dries back, I add more ripples in, and they stay there. They don't disappear completely. And as the paper dries back, you'll get those marks to stay longer. So if I pop another one here with my purple, and you'll see that in subsequent layers, they will stay a bit longer, just giving you that tidal ripple on your otherwise still water. Okay, right, we're going to go into the tree line now. I'm going to bring some lemon yellow into a puddle with some vermilion or cadmium red to give me this nice orange. Quite a bright orange to start with. I'm going to come up, just tap in my brush against the sky. Now we've waited for the sky to dry, because otherwise our tree line will disappear completely and bleed into the sky. Sometimes I use that technique for mountains when I want them to soften into the background, but this is a more definite tree line that I'm producing with this orange mixed with lemon yellow and cadmium or vermilion red. Okay, keeping it quite light to start. Coming halfway along. And now now I'm going to drop some stronger red in. The paper is drying too quickly, Kathy. Just re-wet it, my darling. Just take your big brush and re-wet it. I'm using my own watercolour. These are my watercolour pads made in conjunction with Bockingford. You can buy them from my website. They come in A5 or A4 and it's beautiful 300 GSM acid-free paper, and that's what I'm using. Okay, into our tree line, before it dries too much, I'm going to take some vermilion on its own, because I've already got the lighter orange down, using just the very tip of my brush, just tapping in to the top of my trees. Just use that point of your brush to create your little forest at the back there. Just using that tip. Hold your brush down with the tip pointing up and just create your little tree line there. There we go. Beautiful. Now we're going to go the other side, and this time I'm going to use my purple again. If I've got any left, yes I have. Nice and light, quite watery to start. This, remember, was your carmine or crimson and a bit of ultramarine blue. And I'm using it more reddy, a little bit more red. I'm going to come in, going to join up with that orange tree line. Look how I'm using the brush, how it's relaxed in my hand, pointing upwards with the tip, creating these ragged treetop shapes. Come right down to the horizon line. Just dab it like you're printing. Okay, just making shapes. Up and down. Some variety in our tree line. And then I'm just going to fill in the gaps. So this is my purple that's slightly more red than blue to start with. Beautiful. And now I'm going to darken it. Ultramarine blue, creamier paint, a bit darker, a bit more blue in it. And again, I want to emphasize, oh, that is quite strong, never mind. Wet into wet now, just tapping in along the edge of the trees. And just let it bleed. You can also tip your board up to encourage it about 45-degree angle, to encourage those colours to bleed down. Just running my brush along that baseline. There we go. Okay, somewhere in the middle I want the reds to switch, because we've got crimson red this side and we've got vermilion this side. So I'm going to take my vermilion and I'm going to take it in to the purple side, just in the middle section. So a little bit out to the right and a little bit into the left. Just so we've got this area where they collide. And that's my taking the vermilion or the cadmium red, the more orangey red. Fabulous! So we have our tree line in, we've got our clouds going on. Now if you want to, you can go back into your sky and add some more colour. So now it's drying out. If you want to add a bit more potency to your sky, you could just take your purple again, bring it into a corner. But remember, if you do this, add some water underneath so it can blend into the painting underneath. So this is glazing. I'm just adding some water under the paint for it to blend in, to sink in. I'm going to do that again. I like this sky a bit darker. I'm going to come the other side, okay? So listen up, guys, listen up. I'm taking my orangey red on the other side. I want my sky slightly darker. It's dry, so this is glazing. I'm glazing another layer of colour over the top. Then I'm taking clean water, not too much, touch it on your tissue first, and just soften underneath, creep up on the paint you've just put down, so it's got somewhere to bleed out to. Okay, just wanted that corner of the sky a little bit darker. Okay, so we've got our sunshine, we have our trees, we've got our dark water at the back. Now it's drying again. I'm just going to darken that water again. Just take my purple mix in the bottom, pulling those lines horizontally. There we go, that's better. Nice and strong definition on the back of the water. Okay, now all we've got left to do are bringing out a few highlights and adding our reeds. You can pop a little boat on as well if you wanted to. Now, if you haven't got any light areas showing in your painting, you can do some lifting out. Now in water, lifting out with a flat brush is really beneficial. Let me just show you. So this is the flat brush. So lifting out with a small flat brush will help you bring some ripples through. And lifting out, all you need is a piece of tissue and some water on your brush. Dry paper, okay? You don't want to do it whilst that's wet. Dry. And we're going to go into a dark area. Using my brush on its point, I'm just going to sweep it backwards and forwards 4, 5, 6 times. 1, 2, 3. Can you see where that's lifted the paint out? And then dab down. Lift out a bit more. That was still wet. I was silly. Okay, I'm just going to fill that back in. I'm having a day today. Let's do that again. I'm going to dry this with a hairdryer just to show you. 1 second, just give it a quick dry. Okay, let's try that again. So my flat brush, clean. I'm going to come the other side. I'm going to add a highlight of a ripple here in this dark blue section. Just touch in with your brush, give it a little oscillate to and fro, and then dab off, and you get your highlight. Okay, lifting out. It's fun to do. Left and right, a few times, and then dab down hard with your tissue, and you will get this highlight back. Now I'm going to use this technique because remember when I was playing with my trees, I made them wet when I did the water. I need to lift out this dark section going in my trees. So it's good for me to make mistakes. I can show you techniques. Wipe off the brush each time, lift out. You will never get your paper back to white, but you can lift out a lot of colour. There we go. So now I've got a much straighter horizon. I'm going to come just under that to sharpen it. There we go. Okay? Really good, isn't it? Lifting out. Oh, thank you, Rosalind. I do like to try and get, rather than just rush through it, show you what I'm doing and what you can use to your advantage. Now, I might add a little bit more yellow to my water. It's looking a bit bleak. So I'm just going to glaze over the dry paper, the dry painting, a bit more yellow. Just a hint more warmth in that water, a bit more reflection coming through. There we go. And if you want your water a little bit more choppy, we can add a few more ripples. So I'm going to take my purple mixture again, blue and the crimson, touch more blue. I'm going to bring a few more ripples in over the dry painting, okay? Just a few ripples, a bit more shadow The ripple is basically the shadow that the water is casting on itself, and we did water again a few weeks ago. Okay, now under that ripple, because that looks quite strong and quite harsh a line, let me put another one here. So I'm just going to take a damp brush and work down from that ripple to bleed it out. Give it somewhere to bleed out, to soften the wave. Okay, just a bit of water underneath so it bleeds, has somewhere to go. You can really alter the way that line looks. If that was a wave, if you wanted to turn that into a wave, you would wait for it to dry and go above it and lift out a white line. I'll do it, I'll risk it. Look, just lift out white. It's only tiny, hopefully you can see it, and it will give you the highlight on the top and create more of a wave. Okay, I'm going to dry this off again and drink a bit of tea, and then we're going to do our reeds. Okay, because our sun is setting, our reeds are silhouetted. Okay, they're backlit by that setting sun. So you could mix up a very dark green, but I'm going to stick with my purple and I'm going to turn it grey. You could use Payne's grey or Friend's grey, which is my own grey, if you're using my paints. By the way, for those of you that are new, these are handmade artisan paints used with pure pigment and no additives. So you can check those out on my website as well. But I do also sell, they're quite expensive, okay, because they're handmade. I do also recommend these Artway ones, set of 14, or the high pigment Artway ones that come as a set of 12. All available from my website. Okay, let's mix up this dark grey. So we want this thick and creamy, so we get a strong colour. Less water, more paint. I'm using my purple mixture. Wow, look at that, nice and strong. I'm going to add in a touch of yellow, lemon yellow. A bit more blue. So basically making a lovely dark silhouetted colour. I don't like using black. I prefer there to be. It is on the Shop Cafe. I'll pop a link in for you. It's near the top of the page. It's on Art Product page. Go to Art Products and you'll find it there. I only sold some today, so I know it's there. Yeah, you're probably on the wrong page. Go to the menu and there's Art Products. You'll find it there. Okay, now let me show you these brushes. Get a clean bit of water. So a rigger brush or a half rigger brush of nice long bristles, okay? You can pick up your wet paint and just flick, start at the bottom and flick out to create your reeds and your grasses. Now, there's not much more you can do with that, other than when you get to the end, you would then use the end of the brush to create the fluffy bit at the end of some of those reeds, you know, the bulrushes. And then we have the sword brush. So if you've not used one of these before, it's worth getting them and adding to your kit. Just going to darken my colour a little bit more. It's very purple, okay. So I'm loading this up. Now a dagger brush is shaped like a dagger. I'm going to use it with the smaller edge, the sloped edge, and the pointy edge back towards me. Okay, so the point towards you, and use it. You can use a dagger brush in multiple ways. Let me show you. If you use it on its side, you can use it to make beautiful leaf shapes. Okay, and twist it round. But today I want to show you using it with its point towards you, on its thin angle. This is a big one, okay? I'm using the larger one. Push down, pull through and up. Push down, pull through and up. And if you want to, you just lean the brush over at the top and flick to create the top of your reeds. They're really good brushes for doing leaves and twigs and branches. You can really very quickly do very thin lines, and they hold a lot of paint, so you're not reloading all the time. Okay, I'm going to make that a bit more green. I think I've changed my mind, so I'm going to add blue into my red and then a little bit more yellow and get a dark green. A bit more blue. Okay, we're ready. So whichever brush you're using, you can even use your normal round brush if it comes to a nice point. Okay, so I'm going to use my baby sword. So as I say, it's a set of 3, the sword brushes or dagger brushes. I'm using the baby one. Load it up with my nice creamy paint. Point it towards me. So you may have one of these and wonder what to do with it, and now you know. And we're just going to extend this way up over our sky in places. Just flicking up. I need a bit more water on my brush. Just flicking up and creating our grasses in the corner. Build them up, layer them. Initially we're just going to do upward flicks. Coming up right from the foreground, silhouetted against that sunshine. Hello Maureen, good to have you along. Thanks for sharing, Sarah. That's wonderful. So just touch down at the edge of your paper and then lift up as you come away. Okay? I just need to mix up a little bit more. I'm going to jump in with my grey just for speed. Here we go. And I want some of these grasses coming right over my sky because they're close to us. Up we come into the sky. I'm getting lower. Crisscross them, make some interesting patterns in the grasses. And I'm going to come to the end of the grass and I'm going to use this brush just to pull out, flick over the head of the grass. Just touch down. Someone's placed an order. I guess you found them. I just got a ding ding and just flick that over, okay? If you're using a dagger brush, you can just twiddle that end over. Here we go. I need some more grasses. So push down at the base, lead in and lift up. Release the pressure as you come up, otherwise you'll get very fat grass. It's all about how much pressure you're putting on the paper as to whether you get a thin line or a fat one. Building layers and layers of grasses. Make sure your background's dry before you do this. Blocking in until I've got real dense grasses going on here. Just keep reloading with your dark grey or dark green, whichever colour you want to use. Here we are. Very quickly you get that wonderful effect. Okay, something else in your grasses, guys, that I want you to do is just tilt some of these little heads of grass over. So I'm just going to use my brush and put these little indications down, just pulling down with some grasses that are turned over, been blown by the wind, just looping down, again for a bit of interest. Just touching down, pulling my brush towards me to create these little grass areas. Could be heads of grass, it could be fatter leaves. If you want to add some fatter leaves in your painting, just take your brush and push harder. Okay, push down, get contact with the page, and then lift up as you come round. Get some fatter grass. I'm going to do a couple of those. So push down, come through, lift up to the point. A few fatter blades of grass right in the foreground there. This is a fun bit. You can really just have fun with it. The one thing I would say, just make sure you really fill the page at the bottom here. Add some density, just keep mixing more paint. Keep it nice and fluid but strong. There we go. And there we are. Our wonderful sunset, silhouetted grasses. I'm just darkening down this bottom edge with some fatter grass. Please, 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 guys, show me your paintings. You can share them in the comments. When you're finished, just post them. I do love to see them. I comment whenever I've got a spare moment. I have a look and comment on what you've done. Fabulous. Thank you so much for joining me today. Now you can see on the screen, support me at ko-fi.com. That's your chance to buy me a cup of coffee and say thank you for the tutorial. Okay, it's a bit of fun, but it really does mean a lot to me and helps me to keep bringing you these watercolour Wednesdays. Oh, sorry, Kathy, I will send you the link. I'll send you the link. And the brushes. You're on the wrong page, I think, Kathy. That'll be why, but don't worry. I'll put a link at the bottom of this. So yeah, just hit that button. I'll follow the link to ko-fi.com, Eunice J Friends, and you can make a £2 coffee donation. And also at the bottom of the screen, next week, Tuesday at 11 or Thursday at 6:30 p.m, we're doing the Bluebell Glade. Okay, that's my live Zoom class. It lasts around 2 hours and the fee for that is £10. So pop over to my website again if you're interested in booking on any of my other live Zoom classes. You'll be sent a link to Zoom and you can join in live. We chat. I can see your work at the end. It's a really good fun event. So I'm just taking my tape off the board now to show you the lovely clean edges to my sunset. So guys, I'm going to leave you now. I shall pop the links up. Martina, you've already booked Bluebell Glades. Thank you very much, my lovely. And I will see you next Wednesday. Take care and keep painting. Bye for now.